What's up guys, it's All Day Anthony, and in today's exciting video, I'm giving you a full parts breakdown of everything that's going into our Honda Grom project bike. Let's go. Alright guys, and welcome to what could be the most expensive Honda Grom video that I've ever made. True story. So, I've been wanting to make this video because I feel like this might be one of the only times where most of the parts are laid out and visible that are going on this bike right here. Because after today, it's gonna start getting pretty crazy and things are gonna start moving pretty fast. And I feel like when people make YouTube videos and start documenting build series and bikes and cars and all sorts of different stuff, that oftentimes the parts themselves that they are installing are usually overlooked. We see them for a split second, then they're installed, and that's kind of that. And as a viewer, you don't really get to experience maybe why that part was chosen or understand the thought process between maybe that part over there and that part over there, or why did you go with this bearing over this bearing, and so on. So I thought that this would be a helpful video, not only to be able to see a lot of the stuff that's going into this bike right here and will ultimately aid in the transformation, but just to get a better understanding of what the different parts do and why you should buy maybe that over that right there, and so on. Now I say almost everything because there's still a few things that are missing or got like lost in shipping that I'm waiting on. So we still have some handlebars, some handlebar risers, some nuts, bolts, random things like that, and an extra tire that got lost somehow in shipping, so I'm waiting on that to arrive. So in the meantime, we only have one tire. With that said, let's go ahead and just kind of find a corner and start working our way through. All right, now that I'm kind of looking at this, I'm wondering, why did I put everything on the ground? The thought was good, it looked cool, but boy, is this inconvenient. Let's go ahead and start off with the plastics. So for this Grom, I went with brand new OEM Honda Plastics in the Himalayas or Himalayan white pearl. I think that's how you say it. And so this is technically kind of the color reveal, or at least just to say the partial color reveal. There's going to be a lot more going on and some graphics going over the top of these, but I wanted a fresh, brand new, clean slate set. And so the bike had the blue plastics, the blue OEM TDM plastics, which did actually clean up pretty well once I was able to polish them, but they weren't perfect, and I kind of wanted a fresh starting point. So I ended up picking up these from gogrom.com, which he still stocked some of these in stock, which is surprising because it's been so many years. So to give you a better idea of how this is all pieced together, not all of this was from Grom. So the majority of the plastics were, but I actually pieced together some other stuff to kind of make it my own. So for example, this is an SF front fender, not an OG front fender. So this is going to come from the second generation Grom, which was still produced in this really cool color and has just a more aggressive look to it. I actually had this on my first Honda Grom and loved the way that that looked. So I kind of thought I would throw it back and do it again. Now, you're also going to need to get some USDM boomerangs because the TDM ones are not the same. It's not the same opening here. So like on the bike right now, it has TDM boomerangs, and those TST turn signals do not sit in there properly. So you want to get some USDM ones, as that's going to fit the best. So I ended up getting those separately, and I also got the little circle garnishes separately. So you can kind of see those little circles there. So the whole bike is going to be white. It's not going to have like a little standout little circle thing that some of them do. It's going to look really, really clean. Again, it's going to have graphics, but I wanted to have everything essentially be painted. Now to complement the plastics, I also picked up new trim for all of these and all the connecting pieces. So for example, this kind of internal shroud area here with the vents, this is going to be brand new, with those pieces over there being brand new, just because the other stuff was pretty tired and old, and I thought it would just look good with it all being brand new. And the plastics are dirt cheap. I mean, these trim pieces, this is literally like $2, $1.50. I can't even remember, but everything was super, super cheap. So here we go, new gas tank cover. This is like a must-have because these things get just wasted because of the sun and getting scratched up. Like that one's on there is just totally toast. But this is another piece that is like, I think it's like $7. Like super, super cheap, right? Like certain Grom things are just dirt cheap. Like these right here are the side panels that kind of go on that kind of inside section there. These are, I don't know, $4, $5. They're also super, super cheap. So to kind of show you what I mean by that is that if I flip this over here, you'll see that most of these screws and stuff like that will just get transferred over to the new plastics, and this will all just kind of come apart. So that's an example of kind of what it looks like once it's all together. So that's just those pieces over there all separate, and then it'll come together to form a full like shroud panel like this, and it takes like all of a few minutes to do. My left side crankcase is in rough shape, but don't worry about that because a lot of the stuff on this bike, which I've mentioned in previous videos, is going to be going off to paint and powder coat in the next video. So we're actually going to be disassembling a lot of the stuff here. So all of like the really cool fun details are going to come through with the paint and powder coat, and that's going to be part of the disassembly process, and then color changing some of the stuff to kind of make the bike look a little bit higher end, but not in like a tacky way. It's gonna look really, really clean and very OEM plus. This is kind of an expensive piece. It's like 20 or 30 bucks. I can't remember. It was definitely more expensive, but look how good that looks. It looks amazing. And then this right here is actually gonna go off for powder coat as well. So that's gonna have a color change on it. And I just want to start with a fresh one because the current one is all scuffed up and we have to sand it down and all sorts of things. So there's that. All right, we're going to get to that thing right here in just a second, but I want to cover a few more things. So this right here is the thing I'm probably looking forward to the most. So what I did not know about these bikes, truthfully, I didn't know. I know quite a bit about them. I did not know that you could replace just the top cover on the gauge cluster. So you can see the crack right here does not look good. You can buy just the full top OEM case. Like this whole thing comes apart. You just disassemble it and you just replace that new top case in case yours is cracked, and it's like brand new again. So I'm freaking stoked on this. This was not cheap though. This was like 50 bucks. Honda gets ya. They know that people crack these things, and so it's kind of funny. Their pricing for everything is that, you know, anything that's like a crashed item, anything that they know people are gonna buy, even if it's just the cheapest thing to make, they'll just charge the crap out of it. But the random stuff that you think would be expensive is dirt cheap. So anyways, what we have over here, another expensive thing, kind of engine casing. So this is gonna be that left side crankcase cover. So while the crankcase is gonna be painted, and we're gonna be painting the majority of the metal, this piece is still plastic. And so for this, we're going to keep the gloss black. It's going to look really clean, and it's going to pair well with the color that we choose for the case itself. Technically, I guess we'll start with this guy right here. So brand new OEM seat, literally brand new. I mean, look at it. It was taken off the bike at probably, I don't know, 100 miles or so. So I ended up finding this locally from another Grom owner. Super, super cool. He reached out to me, and he's actually a watcher, a viewer. So hello, if you're watching this. But he hit me up and said, hey dude, I have some random parts. Do you just want to come take a look? So brand new OEM seat, along with, people are going to laugh at me, new OEM brake and clutch levers. I know, you're probably like, Anthony, what? OEM brake and clutch levers? I am a sucker for Honda Grom levers that are just stock. I don't want fancy levers. Like there's CRG levers on the black Grom over there, and those are great, they're fine, but there's something about these, the feel of these, the way my gloves feel on these, on a bike this small, like, I don't know, I prefer the stock levers. So these are gonna get powder coated or Cerakoted, and they're gonna look really, really good. And I think it's actually gonna completely transform them from looking like OEM levers to something better. Now, I got those. I got a new kickstand, because that kickstand is so freaking jank, it's not even funny, it's literally deteriorating. So, brand new kickstand. So the next thing I want to point out is this guy right here. So this bike is going to get a full new interior panel where all the fuses go and the battery tray and everything like that. So this is essentially kind of the battery tray. And then I ended up picking up new front stainless steel braided brake line. So this will replace the one that's currently on there. It currently actually has braided lines on the front and rear. The rear is in okay shape, it's savable. The front is just hideous looking. So picked up this Russell Cycleflex. I was gonna go with a couple of the other more popular brands, but this right here is literally like 40 bucks. It was so cheap, it wasn't, I mean, I was like, okay, we'll just get this one. And it comes with OEM mounts, meaning that it'll actually mount up just like the OEM line and it'll look really, really clean. So I was pretty stoked on that. This is hilarious. I'm literally like grabbing this like kneeling pad and throwing it on the ground because I'm like, I don't want to crouch. My knees are killing me. So this is what I've been doing. I've just been sitting here like I'm in Japan and just sitting on my back, you know, my back feet. So I'm losing it. It's late. So let's talk about this right here. So G2 brake caliper paint system. And you're probably thinking, oh, he's gonna paint his brakes. No, I'm not gonna paint my brakes. I use this stuff on the RSX right there. I use this stuff on the brakes. And I kid you not, these brake calipers look brand freaking new like all these years later. They're glossy, they're hard as a rock, like you literally cannot chip that paint, and it looks really good. It matches to whatever texture that you're kind of putting it on. So if you're putting it on a brake caliper, it's textured, it'll give you a texture look. But if you're putting on a smooth surface, it self-levels and gives you a smooth look. So you're picking up kind of what I'm putting down. What I'm gonna end up doing is actually just cleaning up some of the kind of surface rust spots and doing my full touch-up with that stuff right there. Essentially a very hard brake caliper paint. And this is going to allow me to go through and touch up certain areas of the frame. Like for example, back here, right? You can't kind of see because of the shadows, but there and on the underside, maybe some of the engine casing can all be done. And I promise you, I think it's gonna look like factory. Next thing over here, I wanna point out my favorite mirrors. So brand new, these are called the Cowl just round mirrors. You can pick them up on Amazon. I had these in my first Grom for 6,000 miles and they were amazing. No issues, they held up great. I've had nicer bar and mirrors and these were fine. And they're like 20 bucks, 30 bucks on Amazon and they're some of my favorites. So definitely probably the best bang for the buck mirrors that you can get for a Honda Grom. They're not all the same. You want that Cowl brand. That's how you know it's the good stuff. So let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room, which is that thing over there. So this right here is an absolute work of art. Oh my God. It's amazing. It's so beautiful. It's not even funny. I'd never actually seen one of these in person until it came in. So I knew that I wanted at least one nice part on this bike. And when it came to kind of looking through and figuring out what I was going to do this thing, this swing arm was toast back here. I mean, look at this thing. It's freaking wasted, man. Like if in the previous videos, it's horrible. So my thought process here was that I could just buy a new swing arm, brand new OEM, and it would be probably 200 bucks plus a couple supporting things. It could be a little about 250, right? Kind of expensive, not gonna lie, for a stock swing arm. eBay, they were like 120, 130, but they were pretty beat up. And I was kind of torn because if I bought the swing arm, I would need chain adjusters because these chain adjusters are absolute trash. Literally the worst things that you can ever have on a Honda Grom. Throw them away. New chain adjusters, if I were to buy decent ones, about 80 bucks, 100 bucks. So the cost of the swing arm plus chain adjusters, I'm gonna be into that swing arm $300 something, right? Well, you can buy a G-Craft swing arm for 300 bucks. Shipping is an additional 100 or so from G-Craft, but for basically $400, you are going to get one of the nicest swing arms that you can get. All right, so this was one of my favorite mods from my first OG Grom, and I knew I had to have it on this one. I wanted just a single projector, OEM headlight, and so I ended up finding one of the TDM ones on Grom. It's like $100. It's not that bad. Another kind of fancier part, but one that I think is going to make a big difference in terms of visual look. So I ended up picking that up. I'll have to swap over bulbs. And then for the chain setup, ultimately needed a new chain. So I went with a new DID gold chain, 420 and stock length, and then brand new sprockets because again, you don't change just a chain. You always want to change out your sprockets too. So brand new 14 tooth on the front. Rear is going to be the stock, I think, what, 35 tooth, I think is what it is. I think 35. So these are just these super light RS7s. They're great. I have no issues with these, especially on a Honda Grom. So new chain, new sprocket. It's going to feel like a fresh pair of underwear. It's going to be amazing. Next up here, new brake reservoir. This was just one I got off of eBay. I don't even think this is OEM technically. But look at this. Look at the one that's on there. That is freaking massive. It is double the size of this one that I'm holding here. I don't even know what that is. Now, I did have to pick up new gasket for my crankcase on the right side, so that's gonna go there. The new gasket that we have on the left side should be totally fine. If not, I have a whole box of them that I can swap that out as well. New handlebars are gonna go on, bar grips. I think I have one of them on right there. We have all new wheel bearings. So I was gonna go with ceramic wheel bearings. The price of those has skyrocketed and is so much money that I was like, crap, we're gonna go OEM. So all new OEM wheel bearings across the board, front and rear. So when the wheels get repowder coated, we'll be able to put new bearings back in. And then we have a ton of kind of random stuff. So I have washers, I have gaskets for the kind of where the valves are adjusted there. I've got new brake line brackets. I have this, I don't even know what the heck that is. All right, last but not least here is the tire. This is a Kenda KD1 and a 130/70/12. These are very good tires. Probably the best bang for the buck that you can get for a Honda Grom tire without doubt. But this is not an off-road tire. This is not a knobby tire. This is very much a street tire, which will tell you some of the direction that we are going here with the Honda Grom. So the Kenda KD1's the best bang for the buck. So the 120 front is on the way. It'll have the 130 rear, and these things grip and rip. They last not as long as other tires. So like this rear might only get like a couple thousand miles out of it. But I mean, realistically, that's going to take me a while to do on this Grom, especially since I have a few bikes. So it's going to look good, it's going to perform good, it's going to do exactly what I want, but that's going to be the direction in terms of kind of the starting point of what we're going to be doing. But the wheels are going to go off to get powder coated, Cerakoted, again, along with everything else. And so when we put everything back on, it's going to be super fresh. New wheel bearings, new everything, new tires. It's going to be a very good thing. Now, while we're still on the topic of parts, a big question I get is, Anthony, where do you find your parts? Like, how do you know what to buy and where do you get everything? Well, my answer is going to depend on whether we're talking about a Honda Grom, Honda Civic, Acura RSX, and so on. But ultimately, I kind of already know what I'm looking for because I've already gotten inspiration from somebody else in photo or video, and I'm just trying to find that part. And once I find who sells the part, it's mostly about where I can find the best pricing. So, for example, getting the plastics from Grom made the most sense because I was able to get this whole rear section here along with these side panels for a decent price and then piece together everything else from Partzilla cheaper than what I would have been able to with buying it from Thailand and paying shipping and duties and things like that. So this made the most sense for this setup right here. But for all the OEM parts, like all this stuff, Partzilla, dude, straight up, I started ordering through them pretty recently and you cannot beat their prices. Like, it's insane. And the shipping was like dirt cheap as well. I was like shocked that most of this stuff, once I got it into the cart, was like $15 to ship everything. Like stupid cheap. So things like that, OEM parts usually will be some type of OEM supplier. eBay is also huge, right? If I can find something on eBay that's brand new or slightly used and so on, that's also a great place to save money. But anyways, I hope that helps to answering the question, how I find my parts and so on. But it's taken years to kind of gain experience enough to know what I'm looking for and what's considered good. And then I just kind of apply that and just buy the right stuff. And I try not to cheap out where I shouldn't. I think that covers everything. So now we have the big question, the burning question, which is, Anthony, how much have you actually spent on this project Honda Grom? All right, so to answer that question, I'm gonna do a little bit of girl math, and I'm probably going to try to justify everything I'm about to say. So, I bought this Honda Grom for $1,000. It was rough, but now it runs and drives beautifully. It's registered, has a clean title, only has 5,000 miles. The way I see it, anything that you can buy that is roadworthy and road legal for $1,000, holy crap, that's a killer deal. So I know that I got this bike for a screaming deal. Awesome bike for $1,000, no arguing that. But the way I also see it is that if I were to go out to Facebook Marketplace and buy a Grom, I'm probably looking at a couple $1,000, maybe even upwards of $2,500, depending on which Grom it is, what it has on it, and so on. So what that says to me is, well, I have about $1,500 that I can put into this bike to essentially kind of even things out and actually do things the way that I would want to do it. But the cool part about the bike is that the exhaust was already done. The rear sets are already really nice, and it had a few other things on the bike that I really don't have to replace, like the man-in-the-box tail tidy and so on. And there's also a few things on the bike that I can salvage and resell if needed, you know, handlebars, the plastics, headlight, you know, things such as that. So everything that you see here, cost-wise, and how much I've spent, pretty basic, pretty easy stuff. So G-Craft swing arm, probably the most expensive thing. We'll just say $400. Plastics here, all in all, probably once I sell a couple of the other things, I'm probably into this again, $400 as well for most of the plastics. Headlight was $100. A couple of the other random expensive OEM stuff like the crankcase cover and a few of those other things like the speedometer case and all that. I mean, we're probably another $100, $150 here and there. So tires, $100, chain, sprocket set, another little over $100 there. So, I mean, just doing some basic math here. So I think we're probably still within that $1,500 budget for sure. I don't think we've overspent on that. But once we take the bike off and get the parts off for paint and powder coat, I think we'll probably get to that point where we're kind of hitting that limit. But it'll be great because for $2,500, I think that's probably the best Grom I can have for that amount of money that's done up to essentially my, you know, ADA spec. So I'm really looking forward to that. And who knows, right? We'll see. If people love this series at some point, eventually with time, and people are like, Anthony, we got to see the next big thing. We got to see the 300 swap. We got to see something. Well, if there's enough justification there to do it, then we just do it and we make the bike even more awesome. I don't really want to touch the 235 over here because this thing is just so cool as it is, and this is already so freaking crazy that I would rather try to even out some of the craziness with this bike over here. So that is going to be a wrap for this video. I know there was a ton of information. We went over a lot of stuff. Ultimately, this is just to kind of bring you guys into my mind behind kind of doing stuff and going about it. But this is going to look exceptionally clean. That's going to be it for this video. I know, a lot of information, a lot of talking, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, if you guys love the Grom project and you want to see what becomes of this and how cool we're going to make this thing, please make sure to give me a big thumbs up, subscribe down below for more, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Salty Anthony. Peace.